Hello everyone! Welcome back to another 2v2 battle with me and Surreal, playing as the Greenskin faction. We were facing off against a Dwarf and an Empire player, actually, which is unique at this time because everyone's playing Greenskins and Dwarves. My army here is going to be mostly Goblins. We have a front line of Goblin Spearmen backed up by the Rusty Arrows, 2 Goblin Archers. I have 2 Ragnarok Spiders, one of which is the Ragnarok Queen, and Surreal has the same setup with the Queen and another Ragnarok. I have a Hammer of Gore currently hiding behind this formation here to try and keep it safe from enemy artillery fire. I am being led by Skarsnik. We have a Night Goblin Shaman who I think is just really cool, especially for an all-Goblin build. So that's my main line over here, and then over here we have the Death Creepers. I brought them because I saw that we were facing off against the Empire, and I wanted to see how well they would fare in a skirmish duel with a like crossbow or handgun or something like that, because they have the regeneration. So in theory they can go in, take a couple shots, get out, regenerate through it, and then come back and perhaps win a skirmishing battle. But I mean, in most cases, skirmish cav does not win a straight up fight against infantry skirmishers, you know, like crossbows and handgunners. But I just wanted to test it out. Also over here we have the Warlord's Boys and the 8 Peak Loonies, and then 2 Nasty Skulkers because they're really good. For Surreal's army, we have a front line here of the Rusty Arrows backed up by a bunch of Night Goblin Archer Fanatics. Then we also have a couple regular Gobbos over here. They're being led by the Night Goblin Warboss, a Goblin Shaman. Again, he has 2 Ragnaroks, one of which is the Queen. Another Hammer of Gork. We have 4 Nasty Skulkers back there, and then the other 2 renowned Night Goblin units right there. And then he also has a Squig Herd here and there. Oh, speaking of Squig Herd, I think I missed showing. Yeah. I also brought the Moon Howlers and the Durkic Squigs. A lot of renowned units. Just because it's the beginning of, you know, the DLC, so we're just kind of testing them out. For the Empire player here, we have a Steam Tank, we have a Warrior Priest mounted on a War Steed, we also have a Witch Hunter, and then a Light Wizard mounted on a steed as well. We have a Hellstorm Rocket Battery, a Mortar Team is back in there. We also have the Free Company Sterling Revenge renowned unit right here, being led by Volkmar the Grim, 2 Flagellants, and then over here we have Imperial Knights and a Demigryph Knight with Halberd. Then for the Dwarf player, we have 3 Bolt Throwers here, and there. Belagar Ironhammer's way over there, a Uthar's Raiders, the Rangers with Great Weapons renowned unit, and then a whole bunch of Bugman's Rangers. Whole bunch of them. Backed up by 3 Slayers and then 2 Hammerer groups, and that is going to be the enemy's army. Surreal is going to be marching up the left, I'm going to be marching up the right, and I would like to wait for Surreal right here, you know, to get around and get a nice flanking action, because that would be amazing. But the problem is there is just so much artillery here, and I'm like, well, it's either I just stay here and get hit, or I move in and hope I can hold out long enough for his forces to wrap around the map here. So I charge in. Because getting shot at by steam tanks and Hellstorm rocket batteries does not sound like a good time. Especially when that steam tank is facing off against my Ragnarok Queen. That's a lot of money. I think one of these bolt throwers over here is aiming at Surreal's Ragnarok Queen. I think. What are they firing at? Oh, they're firing at Squigs. Okay. Well, that works too. So over here, I summon these Spiderlings from the Ragnarok Spider because I just want to stop this steam tank from shooting for as long as possible. It's right here where we see the Free Company because they do have Stalk. You see my Night Gobbos get into position. So the enemy cannot see the Death Creepers right now or my Night Goblins. They can obviously see the Moon Howlers and the Durkic Squigs. Right here, Light Wizard drops the Net of Amatok, which is annoying, so I try to make sure my Ragnarok does not get caught up into that. Steam Tank already routed off my Spiderlings once, but they are back in the fight, and it's heading right for the Ragnarok Queen, which I find an odd choice to go into melee with the Ragnarok Queen, who has a lot of armor-piercing damage. I find that very, very weird. So my Goblin line here, my front line is being routed already. They are very low in leadership, and they have spells coming at them. They have flashes coming at them. I drop a Night Shroud to try and silence what artillery that I can. And then the Demigryph Knights with Halberds are going to come in to assist the Steam Tank, while these Imperial Knights are going to go over here, and they see like, oh, here's all my Night Goblins. I'm going to cast a Stink Bomb on them to slow them down. Again, I think, like, judging from the amount of damage we took on the charge, I'm pretty sure that weakens their charge up a lot. So anyway, and now we're going to get a total surrounding them with all 4 of these Night Goblin units. Steam Tank is slowly falling to my Ragnarok, which is slowly falling to the Steam Tank and the Demigryph Knights with Halberds. Over here, Volkmar leading his 2 Flagellant groups have routed a lot of my Gobbos and got into my Goblin Archers as well. I'm trying to get my other Goblin Archer and the Rusty Arrows out of this area at all costs. while my two Arachnodox are now in this duel for life and death against these halberds and the steam tank. Surreal's forces are continuing to march up, and he's about to meet against the line of Bugman's Rangers, which were pulled over there to stop him. The Warrior Priest and the Imperial Knights are not faring that great over here. The Imperial Knights just got swarmed and murdered by these nasty Skulkers. The Warrior Priest, though, is doing pretty well at murdering the Warlord's boys. They're going to be routing off my Ragnarok Queen here in just a moment, but the Demigryph Knights and the Steam Tank have taken a lot of damage at this point, so I'm not totally upset at the loss. I mean, that's a lot of money, but this is also a lot of money for the Imperial player. They also threw the Slayers in here against my other Ragnarok, trying to bring down my Spiders as best they can. Surreal Squigs coming in here to shut down some of the artillery, and they get also into the Light Wizard. My Death Creepers are going to be just kind of kiting around this two groups of Slayers. I think the enemy, you know, just did a right click and they didn't really pay attention to the Slayers after that, so I'm just going to kite them all the way around. Going to take them on a journey, a whole new world journey here, and just, I think it ends about like right here. So that's how far I'm going to be kiting them with my Death Creepers. And like I said, over here, Surreal's forces are now engaged against the Bugman Line Rangers, but and they're also going to be leaving Belagar back here. A line of Bugman Rangers against two Ragnarok Spiders and all these Night Goblins is not going to fare that well, especially when they're Night Shrouded. So it decreases a lot of their accuracy, so they're kind of okay melee units, so, and very low armor compared to other Dwarf units, so the Night Goblins are actually going to be able to do really well in that situation. Over here, my Arachnodox Spider has, let's see, I think we dealt with those Demigryph Knights. For the most part, I think they routed, but they may come back here soon. My Queen has come back from routing, and yeah, there's Demigryph Knights. So they routed, came back, and then they tried to finish off my Queen, and ended up getting routed themselves. Again. Trying to keep my archers safe from being hit by the Hellblaster Volley Gun, or Hellstorm Rocket Battery, sorry. Not Hellblaster Volley Gun. Moonhowler's getting into this fight, trying to deal with, not even the Witch Hunt, I'm trying to get them to this Hellstorm Rocket Battery. I got Dirkus Squigs behind him. The line of Bugman Rangers held for about as long as you can expect they would against all of this stuff coming at them. Again, they're very low armor, so they're going to take a lot of damage from Night Goblin units. So they're not really the best to stop them. And with that Night Shroud that Surreal cast, this whole group of Bugman's Rangers just rout almost instantaneously. Meanwhile, we are still over here trying to deal with all of the heroes of the Empire. I'm trying to get Volkmar the Grim down by shooting him with our... I was shooting him with some arrows, but I think they routed. Meanwhile, these other two Flasher groups are over here dealing with my Night Goblins and Skarsnik. Yeah. I'm sure Gobbler ate a lot of Flashes this day. And these Slayers are still kind of just chasing my units around. Ooh, nice banishment spell by the Light Wizard. You can see they still have their Witch Hunter, they still have the Light Wizard, their Warrior Priest is in here helping with Volkmar. My Ragnarok Queen is getting a lot of good damage on these hero units. Still trying to deal also with the Steam Tank who's nearby. And Surreal's forces are going to be marching across the field. It's just routing off these Bugman Rangers and trying to get over to this fight. My Moonhowlers got into the mortar team finally. It took them forever, but we got in there. We shut down the Hellstorm Rocket Battery. We've shut down most of the bolt throwers, except for this one. It's just standing right there, continuing to fire. I just did not even see it. My other Spider here is going to be finally routed off by Volkmar the Grim and his heroes. Steam Tank is very low, but the Night Goblins don't have much of a chance at killing it. Actually, do they? Hold on, which one is this? Yeah, so these ones do not. If these were the other group, they would, because they could actually sunder the armor and do some decent damage. But you can see we managed to also rout the Witch Hunter at this point. The Warrior Priest took a lot of damage from our Spider. I'm trying to pin down Volkmar the Grim here with our Dirkus Squigs and the Moon Howlers at this point, and try to get some shots with our Death Creepers. You can see this group of Hammerers was chasing off a Squig Herd, and so I'm hitting it with our Hammer of Gork. And now we are applying poison to Volkmar the Grim, trying to get an Arachnodox Spider over there. These two Slayers got into some Goblin units, and I'm trying to just shoot them with our other two Arrow units nearby, and it's doing a lot of damage there. Skarsnik, I pull up into this fight to try and finish off the Steam Tank because he does have armor piercing, like a lot of it, and he has a bonus versus large, so he can do pretty well against the Steam Tank. Now that may look impressive, but I mean, he just went in there at the last second. Like, he's probably pretty happy about it. But he only hit the thing like twice. But yeah, finally brought that down. Surreal's army chased off the Bugman group and is coming in. But all that's left is going to be these Slayers at this point. Volkmar the Grim was shot down by the Death Creepers, and the Arachnodox came in to finish him off. So yeah, now we're just dealing with these Slayers over here who are unbreakable, just slowly peppering them with all of our arrow fire. The group of Hammerers is now routing because due to losses of the battle, and Hammer Gork is just, you know, pounding them. And that's it. Belagar's still over here, but I think my enemy here forgot about him because he was just over here fighting against some goblin archers, and then they left him, and he just kind of stood there. Totally understandable. If you're looking over here, micromanaging your Slayers and everything else, you just kind of maybe forget about a unit over here. And that's it. Slayer's going to go down, and we are going to have a victory. Good games to my opponents into Surreal. The kills, I believe, for the most part, are kind of spread out evenly amongst most of these Goblin units. My Arachnonaut Queen got shut down pretty early by the Steam Tank and the Halberdiers. Luckily, though, the other spider that I had was able to do some damage to them as well. Brought down Volkmar the Grim, so did a lot of work, even though the kills don't look like it did. My two renowned Cav units I'm very proud of. They shot down the Hellstorm rocket batteries and the mortar teams, though both of those artillery units got to spend a lot of their ammunition before I finally got around to shutting them down. The nasty Skulkers here shut down some Imperial Knights and then went around and killed other units. They're just they're a solid unit, man. Armor piercing Night Goblins for 500, I think. Like, they can do some work. I think they're very cost effective. Death Creepers honestly didn't get to do too much here. I just had them kiting around a group of Slayers, but it's fine. For Surreal here, Night Goblin War Boss, 17 kills. And again, kind of a lot of kills spread out evenly amongst most of these Night Goblin units. They killed a lot of Bugman Rangers. The Bugman Ranger line cannot hold up against the entire army of Surreal. His Arachnoroks chewed up a lot of Bugman Rangers, and the Hammer Gork got 49 kills against them. Squidcurs did pretty good. Then for Comrade Viper, 34 kills on Belagar Ironhammer. I think most of that is against Goblin Archers. The Slayer still got some decent amount of kills, but these kills were mostly against a normal Gobbo Spearmen and some Gobbo Archers for the most part, so it wasn't super impactful, but they still got a decent amount of kills. Hammers did, they did alright. Bugman Rangers line, they did okay. They got some decent amount of kills against Goblins, but they just kind of got shut down. That's a lot of Rangers. Now look, I expect Ranger builds, but I didn't expect for an army to be a core of just Bugman Rangers. Like, I would think there'd be a split of, you know, the great weapons, the normal Corlers, and maybe a couple Bugman Rangers here and there. Because, like, they're not really that much more effective at range. They're just a Corler unit that costs more and has lower accuracy. The cool thing about them is that they have regeneration, and they still have decent melee stats. But, like, I think you need to mix them in with other units. Like, I don't think you can have just a core of Bugman's Rangers. At least not in this situation, anyway. Uthar's Raiders did okay, and then the Bolt Throwers, they did alright, but I think they're mostly firing against Ragnarok, so the kill count is pretty low. And then for the Imperial player, 128 kills on Volkmar the Grim is really solid. Warrior Priest, really solid. Witch Hunter got 3 kills. Light Wizard even managed to get 27 kills, probably with those 2 banishment spells that they cast. The Flagellants did pretty well. Sterling's Revenge kind of got shut down, as did the Imperial Knights. They were just surrounded and murdered by the nasty Skulkers. The Demigryph Knights managed to bring down a lot of hit points on my Queen and the other Arachnarok, so they did pretty well before they were routed off. And the artillery all across the board did pretty well. 45 kills for Hellstorm rocket battery is not that great, but 144 kills for the Steam Tank, and then 92 on a mortar, which is, God, how much does this thing cost? 700? Or is it 800? I think it's 700. Maybe even 650. I can't remember. It's really cheap. So that's really did a lot of work. And the Steam Tank also did a lot of work as well. So again, good game to my opponents. Let's check out a more cinematic view of the battle. And something I didn't really talk about too much that is in this map, you got to remember that this water does incur penalties on all infantry units. I think it's 80% melee attack and movement speed from what I have seen. So that's kind of insane. So you just got to kind of be mindful of that. If you're going to be playing defensive, I would suggest that you try to get your forces up to this line to try and force the enemy to fight in the water while you are fighting in the, non-penalized terrain is what I would do. Take advantage of the terrain while you can. Like, at this point, I didn't even see the Sterling's Revenge Company there. I probably should just had the spiderlings go after them instead. But I'm really terrified of the steam tank doing a lot of damage to my Ragnarok Queen. Good lights, or good net here. Net my goblins and then just tear them to pieces. And my Ragnarok's like, nope, not going in there. This was an odd move though. A very odd choice, I think, to engage melee against the Ragnarok Queen as a steam tank. Very odd move. Like, the steam tank can do really well in melee, it can, but utilize its main turret though. Because if it's in melee, it's not firing that main gun. And these poor Imperial Knights, man, they just get totally surrounded by these armor-piercing, nasty Skulkers. And as long as those Skulkers are winning in combat, they are refreshing their opportunistic Murderer, which... Let me actually go over that real quick since we're looking at them here. So the opportunistic Murderer. So for 15 seconds, they are increased armor-piercing damage on top of... actually, what is their armor-piercing? 18. So that is getting boosted by another additional 36%, and their melee attack is jumping up by 16, so you can see they have a 43 melee attack right now. And also their attacks become poison. They're not a poison unit until this procs, and the only way that's going to recharge is if they are winning combat for at least 3 seconds after it's over. But since they have such a numerical superiority in this fight, and they have like this round here, they are going to be winning in combat. So this opportunistic Murderer, which is the real thing that makes these little bastards deadly, is going to be continuously just reprocking. You can see in the bottom there, it's cooling down right now. Well, not cooling down, but it's active currently. And it's been like that through this entire combat. So those Imperial Knights are just getting massacred by these very cheap little Gobbo units. Like, they are, as long as you put them in a situation where they're going to win, you definitely want them in a numerical superiority situation to make that easier, because then they're just going to keep proccing this and they just become, just look at that. They're just so deadly. Anyway, Nasty Skulkers are pretty good. As long as you're utilizing them in the right situation where they have this superiority in combat. Because if they're always losing in combat, like if you make them a front line of troops, like, you know, like Gobbo Spearmen, they're not going to be as good. Because they're going to be like one-on-one facing off against enemy units that are probably going to be better than they are. So they're not going to be winning in combat, and then they're not going to be proccing Opportunistic Murderer, and you're just kind of throwing away a lot of their potential. Use the Surreal Squidkers to come in. Bugman's Rangers do get a couple of volleys off before they get hit. Oh, there was also a group of hammers over here. I didn't even notice that's where they went. But the thing is, like, these Bugman's Rangers have a minus 30% penalty to their attack, and also they're attacking against the goblins who have a pretty high block chance on their shield anyway. So all of that combined really, well, it doesn't make them as crazy as they could be. Also spiders. That's not a good situation for them. At least this group has armor piercing, whereas this one doesn't. So really, if these were switched, then they would get a little bit more out of these rangers here. But honestly, all of their armor piercing damage is going to waste against the Nasty Stalker. That's probably the Nasty Itch or whatever. Itchy Noose. I can't remember what it's called. The thing that increases their armor piercing damage. This always happens. Look, actually, I didn't even notice this before. They stacked their artillery up. It is a literal wall of artillery. Most of my units aren't even getting past. Oh, that's so annoying. I've said it before, but I don't always do it in the heat of battle. But try to always attack these things from the sides, because then this shit happens. I didn't even notice the bolt thrower, though. Like, if the bolt thrower wasn't there, this would be much easier to get through these 3 Hellstorm rocket batteries. Oh my god, it's a literal wall. Oh, my units are basically just getting held up by that while the Light Wizard was like, haha, and runs out. I also didn't really utilize Scarsnick that well in this battle. I tried to keep him out of melee for the most part, but he's actually a pretty good melee combatant. Like, you don't really have to be super afraid to get him into melee. I'm just kind of used to... Well, because to me, he looks like a caster, and so in my head, I'm like, I don't want you in melee because you look like a caster, but he's not. He's not a caster at all. He's a dangerous melee combatant. So yeah, I just gotta kind of use him more. Luckily, we got past the wall of artillery and into these mortar teams, finally. The Moon Howlers do have fear, so they're going to be running these guys off. And that Bugman line, man, they just collapse so quickly. Getting some more shots here, though. But again, in this situation... Actually, if they're firing at the Nasty Skulkers, it's pretty good. But if they're firing at the Ragnarok Queen, that's kind of not great. Because they're not armor piercers, so a lot of their damage is just being absorbed by the very high armor of the Ragnarok here. If they're shooting in the Nasty Skulkers, they can get a lot more work done. Because they are unshielded and very low armor. That's the greatest weakness of the Nasty Skulkers. So currently in the meta, I would always bring some kind of Corler unit as a dwarf, just for this reason, because you're going to be seeing Nasty Skulkers if you're facing against Greenskins. Most likely, you're going to be seeing them. So try and make sure you have really well protected foilers. Even better yet, just have a couple, one or two at most, just normal rangers, because they have stalk, and kind of keep them away from your main line, far enough away so the enemy won't be able to see them even if they engage against your main dwarf line. Because that way you can bring them out after they bring out the Nasty Skulkers, because they're going to be like, haha, I'm going to bring out these skulking units on your flank and I'm going to tear into you with these Nasty Skulkers. And let them come, let them engage your line, and then you pop out your Bugman's Rangers. You run them forward because they're pretty fast, so you can actually afford for them to be a little far away from your main battle line. And then you bring them out after the Nasty Skulkers engage, and you just pound the fuck out of them, dude. And they will fall really quickly. That's how a good way to counter the little nasty bastards. Also, maybe normal gyrocopters could also do decent damage against Nasty Skulkers with their little steam cannons. That's possible. But I would put more faith into just a very basic range unit for 500 gold. Like, it's... They get shut down pretty quick. Anyway, where's the fighting happening? I think we're at the Slayer part? Yeah.
Now see who's the mightiest.
Goodbye, Slayers. Hope you enjoyed that, everybody. I will see you all next time. Take care.